We officially know what the groups for the World Cup look like. Let's make our prediction today. In Group A, we have Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, and playoff D, which most likely will end up being Denmark. I think Mexico obviously is the biggest team in CONCACAF. They're just not the best playing team in CONCACAF at the moment. I think they're a little irregular. They have great players. I think of Santi Jimenez. I think of Raul Jimenez. I think of Edson Alvarez. They have a lot of talent, a couple players in Europe, but they haven't been the best over the last couple years. Yes, they did beat the US in a couple finals, but that's it. They also lost against the US in the last couple years a lot, putting that question over who's the real king of CONCACAF. I do think Mexico is historically a better team than the US, but of late, US has been a little stronger. But ahead of this World Cup, Mexico got knocked out of the last World Cup in the group stage in a pretty tough group, I would say. But looking at South Africa right now, they got out of the group with Nigeria in their qualifiers, and they seem to have a little bit of a good form right now. South Korea, it's an Asian team. Asian teams are growing a lot in the last couple years, and I do think they might be a threat to Mexico for this group. I think something that plays in favor for Asian teams for this World Cup is the amount of discipline they have and how much they have been growing. If you add that to the fact that South Korea has amazing players like Kim Min-jae from Bayern Munich, they have Heung-min Son, who of course is playing in LA, but a couple of months ago, he was in the Premier League still playing at the top level. Then you still have Hee Chan, who's playing at Wolves and is still killing it in the Premier League. And if Denmark ends up qualifying to this World Cup, well, they also have a lot of talent. Christian Eriksen, of course, in the latter stage of their career, it's a little more difficult. Højlund, who is now joining Napoli, which are doing pretty well. I think Denmark, if they end up qualifying, they're going to be favorites for this group just because they're European. I think they play at a higher level and they're just going to top this group. But let's go game by game. For Group A, I think Mexico will beat South Africa in the first game 2-0. I think South Korea and Denmark will tie 1-1. I think Mexico will lose to South Korea away from the Azteca. Something important to say about Mexico is they are playing at home, so they are going to have that home advantage. They're going to have a lot more fans than the rest of the countries in this World Cup. They usually have a lot of fans anywhere in the world. Being the third-time host of this competition, I think it's going to be a little bit of a little extra spice to the games. The first game for Mexico outside of the Azteca is going to be in Monterrey, and I think they're going to lose that game against South Korea 2-0. I then think Denmark is going to beat South Africa 3-0, obviously assuming that Denmark's going to go through. Then once again, Denmark being Denmark, I think they should beat Mexico 1-0, even if they are playing in the host country. And then South Korea and South Africa, I think that's going to be a draw right there, because you have discipline and tactics over physicality and just power. So that will mean Denmark tops the group with 7 points. South Korea has second with 5 points. Mexico, 3 points, gets third place. And then South Africa is going to be last with only 1 point. Then for Group B, we have Canada, the playoff A for Europe, which is most likely going to be Italy, Qatar, and Switzerland. This is going to be a little bit of a more even game. Again, assuming Italy goes through on the qualifiers, I think Italy missing a third or fourth World Cup in a row would be absolutely disastrous. I don't see it happening. I said that last World Cup, but I don't think Italy's going to miss another one. And I think they are favorites to top this group. Canada, they're always competitive in CONCACAF, but the last World Cup, they didn't win a single game. They scored against Belgium, I think, but that's about it. They didn't really show anything interesting against other teams. Qatar also lost all their games last World Cup. Being the host nation, now playing away from home, I think it's going to be even tougher for them. And then Switzerland is one of those bang average teams that has a couple good players, and even though they're just bang average in Europe, I think it still puts them ahead of a lot of other countries around the world. So they will be competitive in this group. That being said, I think Canada will beat Qatar in their first game 2-0. I think if Italy makes it through, they are going to beat Switzerland 2-1. I know they went to the playoffs and Switzerland didn't, but they had different groups. Italy had to face Norway and Holland, and I think that made it a little more difficult for them this time around. Then Canada's going to split the difference with Switzerland 1-1. I think Italy will beat Qatar 3-0. Then I think Italy would beat Canada 2-0 if that happens. And then Qatar would lose their last game against Switzerland 3-0 as well. Meaning Italy will top their group with 9 points. Switzerland would get second place with 4 points. Canada would get third place with 4 points as well. I think there's going to be a goal difference there that splits them, and then Qatar will get no points and get knocked out of the competition. Then for Group C, we have Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. I think this is one of the most entertaining groups visually. I think Brazil, in their qualifiers, if it was regular qualifiers, they'd be playing playoffs right now to see if they get into the World Cup. I don't think they get knocked out. I just think it's funny that the fact that the first time CONMEBOL has 7 qualification points, it's the time Brazil gets 6th place. Well, this time they qualify. In previous World Cups they wouldn't have. They are not the best right now. It's crazy to think about it when you think that they have Rafinha, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Lucas Paquetá, João Pedro, Alisson, Marquinhos. They just are probably the most stacked team on the whole tournament, and they have Ancelotti now as their coach, but they are struggling to play beautiful football, which is what they are known for, and they are not showing that. They lost against most of the top tier teams in South America in the qualifiers, and they're not meeting that expectation that most fans have for Brazil. So I think they might disappoint a little bit in this World Cup. Then we have Morocco, a completely the opposite spectrum than Brazil. They were big surprises last World Cup, getting to the semifinal, knocking out teams like Portugal in the way, knocking CR7 out of the competition. And they just had an excellent World Cup all around. They did lose the 3rd place match against Croatia, getting knocked out in semifinals by France. So I think Morocco is showing potential to be one of the top tier competitors in the World Cup for future years, especially considering they just won the U20 World Cup. Be careful with Morocco. They still have Hakimi. They have Brahim Diaz from Real Madrid. They are a really tough competition. They're going to compete against Brazil really well in this group. Then we have Scotland on the other hand, another team that in Europe has been competing. I think from the European standard, they are much lower than other Europeans in this competition, even the ones playing in playoffs. But they have a good player per position. I think of the defense. They have Andrew Robertson from Liverpool. You think of the midfield. You have Scott McTominay that ever since he left Manchester United, he's absolutely killing it in Napoli, and he scores goals, he defends, he does everything. He's an all-around player. I think he's been amazing. And then you also have players like John McGinn from Aston Villa, just a bunch of other players. And I think Scotland's going to bring a lot of passion into this World Cup, which I absolutely love. Then let's move on to the last team in this group, Haiti. Honestly, I think the only reason they are here is because US, Mexico, and Canada all qualified automatically for hosting the tournament. If it wasn't for that, I don't think they'd be here. I think it's kind of rude to say it, but they are probably one of the weakest sides in this competition, and I don't think they're going to have much chance against any of the other 3 teams. But we'll see. I really hope they prove me wrong. I really want to see Haiti score a goal in this competition. But we'll see. Anyways, game by game, I think Brazil and Morocco are going to tie the first game. It's going to be one of the best games starting off this competition. 2-2. I think that's going to be the result. Then I have Scotland beating Haiti 3-0. Then I have Brazil also beating Haiti 5-0. I think Morocco is going to beat Scotland 2-1. I think Brazil and Scotland are going to surprisingly tie that game. I don't know what about it. I think Brazil either is going to beat them 4-0 or they're going to end up tying this game. I think McTominay is going to have an excellent World Cup. We'll see what happens. And then I think Morocco is going to beat Haiti 3-0, meaning Morocco would get first place in the group with 7 points. Brazil would get second with 5 points. Scotland would get third place with 4 points. And Haiti would get knocked out with none. Moving on to Group D, the United States, Paraguay, Australia, and Playoff C for Europe, which is most likely, in my opinion, going to be Turkey. Now, Americans are really confident with this group. I am not as confident. I think the United States, after the last World Cup, getting knocked out in round of 16 against Netherlands, they go on, they win a couple Nations League, beating Mexico in semifinals, beating Mexico in a final. And after that, after they changed the coach with all the scandals with the players and with the coach, I think the US has lost momentum. They brought in Pochettino, who failed in PSG. Paraguay, of course, you would put them in the bottom half of South American teams. And that's exactly where they qualified. They qualified 6 out of 10 in South America. They had the last direct qualification spot for the World Cup, but they had the same amount of points in qualifiers than Brazil, then Colombia, and then Uruguay. They are no joke. They beat Argentina. They beat Colombia. They are in great form. They have a coach that is known for grabbing not amazing teams and bringing them far. So I think Paraguay is going to be a bit of a surprise this World Cup. I think they are going to make it pretty decently far. They did well in the last World Cup they played in 2010. And I think they might repeat it this time around. They have Almiron. They have Enciso. They have a bunch of Gustavo Gomez from Palmeiras. They have a good squad. So the U.S. has to be a little extra careful with how they approach these games. They can't be overconfident. Australia, they reached the round of 16, get eliminated by Argentina in the last World Cup. They were a very worthy opponent, but I do not see them performing as well this World Cup, especially in such a competitive group with US, Paraguay, and Turkey. Turkey, the last team we're going to talk about, I think they have a really good squad. Kind of similarly to Scotland, they're going to bring that fiery Turkish passion, which you love. That's why their league is so entertaining. Their big games, Fenerbahce, Galatasaray, they are great entertaining matches because that passion that they bring. So Arda Güler, Haladoglu, they're both going to be players that are going to carry Turkey, I think, to at least get out of the group. Let's go into the predictions. I think the first game, USA against Paraguay, is going to end up being a 2-2 draw. I think Turkey is going to beat Australia 1-0. I think the United States is gonna beat Australia 3-1. It's gonna be their best performing match. I think Paraguay and Turkey are gonna tie 1-1 as well. I think that's gonna be a pretty good game if you want to see red cards. That's just what I picture in my head. And then I think the United States and Turkey are gonna also tie 0-0. And I think Paraguay is gonna beat Australia 2-1. This means the USA, Paraguay, and Turkey all have the same amount of points with 5, and I think the United States is going to go through first because of goal difference, and I think Paraguay is going to go second because of fair play. So I think they're going to have less yellows and red cards than Turkey, and that's why they're going to go second, and then Turkey is going to go third, and then Australia last. Then we have Group E with Germany, Curaçao, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador. I think Germany are obviously a very strong European team. They won the 2014 World Cup, but since then they have disappointed in World Cups. They have competed decently, I guess, in European competitions, but I don't see that strength and that fear that you can have coming into a World Cup with Germany usually. Usually before a World Cup, you're like, Germany is a tough opponent. They are probably going to make it far. I don't feel that for this World Cup. I don't see Germany and get scared. They have a couple young players. They have Musiala. They have Goretzka, they have Kimmich. I just don't have fear that they're going to make it that far in this competition. I don't even think they're going to top their group. Then we have Curaçao. Then Curaçao, kind of similarly to Haiti, I think the only reason they're here is because the US, Mexico, and Canada qualify directly. Otherwise, I don't see them qualifying to a World Cup. I don't know much about them. I know they topped their group, knocking out Jamaica, but I don't know. I just don't see it. I think they're also going to be one of the weaker sides of this competition. We have Ivory Coast that have produced amazing talent in the past. I think of Gervinho. I think of Yaya Toure. They have just a bunch of good players in the past. Nowadays, I don't see them being as good as they used to be, but they're still an African team that are going to show prowess, and they're just going to be a powerful, strong team going into the World Cup. And then we have Ecuador, which I think is the favorite to top this group. They got second place in the CONMEBOL qualifiers in South America, ahead of Colombia, ahead of Brazil, ahead of Uruguay, ahead of Paraguay, ahead of everyone, getting 3 points deducted at the beginning of the qualifiers. They have amazing players in every position. They have Hincapié in the defense. They have Pacho in the defense. They have Caicedo in the midfield. They have Ener Valencia. They have Preciado. They just have a lot of talent all around, and I think they're going to be favorites for this group, and I think they're going to be my pick as the surprise of this World Cup. So, my prediction for this group, I think Germany are going to easily beat Curaçao 6-0. So far, the biggest goal difference I predicted. Then I think Ecuador is going to learn from their mistakes in the 2022 World Cup, and they're going to beat the African team. In this case, it's going to be Ivory Coast 2-1. I think Germany is going to beat Ivory Coast as well, but 2-0. I think Ecuador is going to beat Curaçao. I'm going to be a little bit more conservative this time. I'm going to say 2-0. And then I think Germany and Ecuador is going to be the surprise game, the first actual surprise. And I think Ecuador is going to beat Germany 1-0. I do genuinely think Ecuador has a better team than Germany. And I do think they are just better performing. I just genuinely think Ecuador is going to do great things this World Cup. And then finally, Ivory Coast is going to beat Curaçao 3-0. Meaning Ecuador is going to top their group with 9 points. Germany is going to get second with 6 points. Ivory Coast is going to get third with 3 points. And Curaçao is going to get last. Now for Group F, we have Netherlands, Japan, Playoff B, which is going to be Ukraine, Sweden, Poland, and Albania. Pretty even. I'm not very confident to predict any of these teams going to guarantee to make it to the World Cup like I've done previously. So we're just going to say Playoff B of Europe. And then Tunisia. So for this group, I think the Netherlands are the clear favorites. They have great players. They have been performing consistently. They never win. They never like smash it in a tournament, but they're always consistently good. In the last World Cup, they get knocked out again by Argentina in the quarterfinals. Amazing game. They could have easily gone through. I think they got a little unlucky. I think Dibu Martinez absolutely destroyed them. And then they're always just a good rounded team. I think Netherlands might do well this World Cup. Japan, another Asian team, probably the best Asian team. They always have beautiful jerseys for the World Cup, and they're always the most respected team, I think, in the competition. They're very smart, they're very tactic, they are very disciplined, and I think they always get out of the group, no matter how difficult or easy it might be. I think Japan, they surprised us all getting out of a group with Spain and Germany last time around. So I think it's going to be similar this time around. And then Tunisia, I think the African team might surprise some people and win a game or two in their group. But let's go into the prediction. So I think Japan and Netherlands are going to draw 2-2. I think they're going to tie the game, split the difference, get a point each. I think European playoff B is going to beat Tunisia 2-0. I think the European team, no matter which one makes it through, they're just a European squad that usually plays at a high level, and I think they are going to perform above an average African team. Then I think Netherlands is going to beat the European qualifier B 3-0. Then I think that the surprise for this group is that Tunisia is going to beat Japan 1-0. I don't know, this is the type of game Japan would lose over Netherlands or a European team. I think the hardest game for Japan will be Tunisia. I think Netherlands is going to beat Tunisia 3-1, and I think Japan is going to beat the European qualifier 2-0. Meaning, Netherlands is going to get first place with 7 points, Japan's going to get second place with 4 points, the European qualifier is going to get third place with 3 points, and Tunisia is going to get fourth place with 3 points. Those last two, I have the same goal difference, so it might change around, but I'm going to just predict that for now. Moving on to Group G, we have Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. I think Belgium is probably one of the most overrated national teams in the last couple of years. They've been first in the FIFA ranking before the 2022 World Cup, before the 2018 World Cup, but I never understood why. What has Belgium won to get them a #1 spot on that ranking? What has Belgium won to get a top 12 ranking? Generally don't understand it. They do have obviously amazing players. They have De Bruyne. They have the best goalkeeper in the world, probably Courtois. They have just an all-around amazing team, but they never perform. They always just perform bang average. They got knocked out of the last World Cup in a group with Canada, Morocco, and Croatia. So I don't know. I think Belgium, they are going to go through on this group easily, but just keep that in mind. I don't think they're a top tier team as a lot of people think them to be. I think Egypt, we all know about Mo Salah. I think that's going to be their top player, obviously. We have Marmoush, who's also in the Egyptian squad, the new Man City player. And I think Egypt as an all-round team isn't the best African nation, but they might be able to take a couple points away from this group. Iran, they have a couple good players. I think of Taremi as soon as I see Iran. In the last World Cup, they got knocked out in a group with the United States, England, and Wales. And yeah, I see a similar future for them. For this World Cup, maybe. We'll see. And then I think New Zealand is probably the weakest team out of the 4 in this group. They qualified in Oceania, but I think, again, the only reason they are in this World Cup right now is because it's a bigger World Cup, so more teams qualify, therefore they got an extra spot. I think they're a filler team in this World Cup. So, game to game, I think Belgium will beat Egypt 3-1. I think Iran will beat New Zealand 2-1. I think Belgium will beat Iran 2-0. I think Egypt and New Zealand will tie 1-1. I think Belgium will beat New Zealand 4-0, and I think Egypt and Iran will also draw 1-1. Meaning Belgium will get 9 points, Iran will get 4 points, Egypt will get 2 points, and New Zealand will get knocked out with only 1 point. Moving on to Group H, we have Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. Now, Spain is the clear favorite for this World Cup. Everyone thinks they are going to win the entire tournament. They still had to play the Finalissima against Argentina as the Euro winner and the Copa America winners. I think they are clearly the strongest team in their group. I don't know if they're going to be top contenders for the entire thing. I think they are very strong. Lamine Yamal, Pedri, Williams, Grimaldo, Cucurella. I can keep going. Rodri in the midfield. They just have a stupid amount of amazing players. and they are the clear favorites for the entire tournament. Cape Verde, they qualified in Africa. I'm surprised they qualified and they got this far. I do think they are another one of those teams that are just a little bit of a filler team in this World Cup, and we'll see how they do. They are probably a weaker African team as well. Then Saudi Arabia, the biggest thing I can say about them, they beat Argentina, the world champions, in the last World Cup, and that's about it. They did, I think, compete pretty well in some Asian and Middle Eastern competitions, but it's just a lower level of football, and I don't see them getting too far into the World Cup. And then Uruguay, before the Copa American last year, they were top contenders for everything in South America. After the Copa America, after the game with Colombia where they get knocked out, Darwin Nunez tosses a chair into the crowd, or tries to. Since then, I think Uruguay has been in a downward spiral. They are questioning Bielsa incredibly. They don't want him as the coach anymore, even ahead of the World Cup. So there's a lot of like turbulence in Uruguay. I still think they are good enough to make it out of this group. So let's go game by game. I think Spain's going to beat Cape Verde 8-0. I'm just thinking Spain outscored a team last World Cup this gruesomely. I think they're might do it again this World Cup, especially since they only got better. I think Uruguay is going to beat Saudi Arabia 3-0. I think Spain's going to also beat Saudi Arabia 2-0. I think Uruguay should beat Cape Verde 4-0. I think Spain and Uruguay is going to be the most entertaining game of probably either the group stage or this group. I think Spain has that match against Argentina to kind of test waters and see how they can perform against Uruguay. But I think Spain will win 2-0. And then I think Saudi Arabia will win their last game against Cape Verde 2-0. Meaning, Spain will get first place with 9 points. Uruguay will get second place with 6 points. Saudi Arabia will get third with 3 points. And Cape Verde will get no points, no goals, no nothing. I hope I'm wrong for their sake. But according to me, they're going to be the team that concedes the most goals this World Cup. Moving on to Group I, we have France, Senegal, Playoff 2, which is going to be Iraq, Bolivia, or Suriname, and then Norway. Starting off with France, they are one of the biggest powerhouses in Europe right now. They won the 2018 World Cup. They got to the 2022 World Cup final. They almost won that final. And they are competing for the best team in Europe with Spain right now, head to head. And they've been the best team in Europe for a while now. They have amazing players. They have Mbappe. They have Dembele. They have Barcola. They have Kante. They have Mainan in goal. It's just, they're an outstanding team all round, every spot. They have multiple players per position. They are the most complete squad probably alongside Brazil. I think France is better than Brazil because they have better fullbacks. So I don't know. I think France, again, won't have a problem getting out of this group. I think they will make it far in this competition. Senegal, they had a good World Cup last time. They got knocked out in round of 16 against England. But before that, they got out of the group with Netherlands, Ecuador, and Qatar. So they did pretty well. From the African teams, they're probably one of the stronger African teams. I think of Koulibaly in defense. They have Sadio Mane up top. So pretty good all around. Then the playoff has no chance. I hope it's Bolivia. As a South American, I want Bolivia to do well. But I see no chance of Bolivia, Suriname, or Iraq getting any points out of this group. And then Norway, obviously, had a great qualifying campaign with Holland absolutely devouring every small little European nation that he could. Norway did so well, they sent Italy to playoffs for a fourth year in a row, for a fourth World Cup in a row. So I don't know. They don't only have Holland. They have Oscar Bob from Man City. They have Martin Odegaard from Arsenal. They have a couple good players. But my prediction for this group, I think France will beat Senegal 4-1. I think Norway will beat that playoff, the FIFA playoff team 3-0. I think France will also beat that FIFA playoff 4-0. I think Mbappe is going to score a crazy amount of goals in this group stage. I think Norway will beat Senegal 2-1. I think France and Norway is going to be the beautiful game that's going to be played over there on the East Coast. I think it's going to be 3-2 for France. And I do think Senegal will also beat the FIFA playoff 3-0. Meaning France will top the group with 9 points. Norway will get second place with 6 points. Senegal will get third place with 3 points. and the FIFA playoff will get no points and will get knocked out of the tournament. And now we have Group J, Argentina, Algeria, Austria, and Jordan. Argentina with a Messi that will play his last World Cup, a Julian Alvarez that is a top striker in the world right now. You have Lautaro Martinez as our second striker, and you have a couple young people coming into the squad to replace Messi. We have Giuliano Simeone, we have Thiago Almada, and then a packed midfield with De Paul, who went to a lesser league right now, but he's still in good form. We have Enzo Fernandez, Alexis McAllister, both in the Premier League. We have Otamendi, who's probably going to play his last World Cup as well. Licha Martinez, Cuti Romero, also both in the Premier League. Dibu Martinez in goal. I think the weakest spot for Argentina are going to be those fallbacks. We'll see if these teams in Group J can abuse that. With Algeria, who has a good winger, they have Riyad Mahrez, the ex-Man City player, currently playing in Saudi Arabia. They have a couple good players. They have a good center back. I know Mandi. They have the ex-Frenchman Aouar, who plays in France. They are a good African team. I think they've been performing pretty well in Africa as well. They are really competitive, but I think Argentina are a little bit above them. I think Austria is going to be the toughest rival for Argentina in this group. They have good players. They have Arnautovic. They have Alba, obviously, from Real Madrid. They have Marcel Sabitzer, the former Manchester United, Bayern Munich player. So they have a couple of good players. They are a European team, so they are used to playing a top tier of football. I think they're going to be the toughest rival for Argentina. And then we have Jordan, who I looked into a little bit, and they've been playing well in the Middle East/Asia Confederation. So I think they might be a surprise. They could surprise Algeria or Austria or even Argentina. I mean, no one expected Saudi Arabia to be Argentina last World Cup, and that still happened. So anything could happen. My prediction for this group, though, I think Argentina will beat Algeria in their first game 2-0. I think Austria is going to beat Jordan 3-1. I think Argentina will beat Austria 2-0, very similarly to that Argentina-Poland game, group stage game in the last World Cup. I think Algeria will also beat Jordan 1-0, although I see that being a pretty tight game. I think Argentina will beat Jordan 4-0. I think that's going to be where Argentina kind of gets some pressure off, maybe play some subs in the last game, and I think they're gonna perform well. And then Algeria and Austria are gonna tie with 1 goal each, meaning Argentina will top their group with 9 points. Austria will get second place with 4 points. Algeria will get third with 4 points, and Jordan will get last place with no points. Moving on to Group K, one of the most requested groups to buy tickets from this World Cup, where we have Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo's last World Cup. We have the FIFA playoff number 1, which is going to be between Jamaica, Congo, and New Caledonia. We have Uzbekistan and then Colombia. Now, going team by team, Portugal has been very competitive in the last couple of years. They just recently won a Nations League. Ronaldo won a couple trophies with Portugal at this point. Portugal has a pretty good, solid team. I think of Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Cristiano Ronaldo, Rafael Leao, Joao Felix, just a bunch of good all-around players. They could be a very competitive European team, but they can also disappoint you a lot of times. I think Portugal hasn't been the most consistent team in the last couple of years with Cristiano Ronaldo. We'll see how they perform. I think of the 2018 World Cup when they tie that game 3-3 with Spain. I don't think anyone expected that either, but it was a pretty good game. That was a pretty beautiful game, and I think they're going to have a similar rivalry with Colombia for this World Cup. And I think Colombia will actually perform better than a lot of people think this World Cup. They are a very competitive team in South America. They got to the Copa America final, losing to Argentina in extra time. So they were the most competitive team all around in that competition. They faced a lot of tough opponents, and they knocked them all out. So I think Colombia is going to be a dark horse in this competition. They are also going to bring a lot of people to the stadiums. So I think that might factor in a lot. So we'll see what happens. My prediction for this group, I think Portugal will beat the FIFA playoff 3-0. I think Colombia will beat Uzbekistan 4-0. I think Portugal will also beat Uzbekistan 4-0. I think Colombia is going to beat the FIFA playoff 2-0. I think Portugal and Colombia are going to be a beautiful game. It's going to be full of Colombian fans. Remember this, that was the most requested game for tickets in the FIFA lottery they were doing. And I think Colombia is going to win that game 3-1. So they're not only going to win, they're going to outscore Portugal pretty well. And I think the FIFA playoff and Uzbekistan are going to tie 0-0, meaning Colombia is going to top their group with 9 points. Portugal will get second place with 6 points. The FIFA playoff will get third with 1 point, and Uzbekistan will get last with 1 point as well. Now going into the last group, we have Group L, which has England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. I have a controversial opinion where I think England is the most overrated football nation in the world. I think they got a pretty good group in this occasion. I think they will make it far in this group. I think they have an amazing squad with amazing players. I think they have the best league in the world. I just think of England's squad. They have Phil Foden, they have Harry Kane, they have Declan Rice. They are absolutely amazing quality players, but they never win. England never wins. They got to the final of the Euros, they lose against Spain. In the last World Cup, they get knocked out of the World Cup by France. Before that, they get knocked out by Croatia. I just think England is a team that was born to lose. I do think they will make it far in this World Cup. I do not think they're going to win it. I think Croatia is kind of the opposite of England. I think they are underrated. I think Croatia always performs well in the World Cup, even though no one really expects them to. When you compare Croatia's squad with England's squad, England is always the clear favorite, but Croatia always fights them, and they might even knock them out like they did in the 2018 World Cup. So we'll see what happens. Ghana, again, one of the better African teams. Very strong team, a team that has a lot of personality and that will go up front and that will fight for every ball. I think that's very important in a World Cup. And I think Panama is going to be the weakest team for this World Cup. They compete a lot in CONCACAF. They do well in CONCACAF. They've beaten the US. They beaten Mexico. They never get to win the tournament in the end. And I think even though they are competitive in CONCACAF, if they can't even win a tournament in CONCACAF, I don't see them doing well in a World Cup when it's a much larger scale and a better level of football. So I think for Group L, England and Croatia is going to be a beautiful game, but since it's a group stage, it's not an important game. I think England will beat them 3-2. I think Ghana is going to beat Panama 3-1. I think England will beat Ghana 2-1. I think Croatia will beat Panama 3-0. I'm going to say England beats Panama 4-0. I think Croatia and Ghana are going to tie 2-2. Meaning, England tops the group with 9 points, Croatia gets second with 4 points, Ghana gets third place with 4 points, and then Panama gets last with no points. Now, you might be wondering, why have I been telling you the results? I don't have to risk that much. I could just put the order of the teams. I did that exactly so I can figure out which are going to be the best third place teams to see who's going to move on to the round of 32. So according to my results, this is the table for the best ranked third place teams. We have Turkey, Scotland, Ghana, Canada, Algeria, Mexico, Ivory Coast, Senegal, and then knocked out is going to be the UEFA Playoff B, the European Playoff B, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the FIFA Playoff number 1. So this brings us to the round of 32. In Boston, we have Ecuador against Scotland. Beautiful game. I'm going to say Ecuador makes it to the round of 16. We're going to kind of quick fire these, make it fast. I already gave my explanation for each team, and you can kind of carry this forward into the round of 32. In New York, New Jersey, in MetLife Stadium, we have France against probably Turkey. I think France will beat them and make it to the round of 16. South Korea against Switzerland. Probably one of the weaker matchups in the round of 32 in LA. I think South Korea has that in the bag. In Houston, we have a beautiful game. Netherlands against Brazil. I think a pretty even matchup. Usually Brazil would have a little bit of a favoritism here. I do think Brazil has a much better squad, but I think Netherlands is going to be a better team and they would outplay Brazil in this World Cup based on Brazil's performance in the South American qualifiers. So I'm going to say Netherlands makes it to the round of 16. Then we have Portugal against Croatia, 2 European squads. I think Portugal has a little bit of a head start over Croatia. I think they're going to make it to round of 16. Once again, in Los Angeles, we have Spain against Austria. I think this will be an easy game for Spain to make it to the round of 16. San Francisco will see the US play against Canada, a CONCACAF matchup. I think even though Canada has been a good team in CONCACAF, I think the US has been the best team in CONCACAF of late, and I think they would make it past the Canadians, especially at home, especially in San Francisco with their people. I think they're going to make it to the round of 16. Then in Seattle, we have Belgium against Mexico. Belgium, a clear favorite to beat Mexico, especially everything I said about Mexico not performing well. I also said Belgium to me is one of the most overrated teams in Europe. I do think this is the type of game Belgium will lose and Mexico will make it forward to the round of 16. Then we have Morocco against Japan. I think for this game, it's a little bit more even than you might expect. I see Japan doing well. I see Morocco doing well based on the last World Cup and how they played the playoffs in the elimination round. I'm going to say Morocco's going to repeat that and make it to the round of 16. Then we have Germany against Norway. We have Musiala against Holland. I'm going to give a little surprise here and say Norway makes it to the round of 16. Norway is everyone's dark horse for this World Cup. I think if everyone thinks it can't be them, but I think they will make it to round of 16 over teams like Germany. So incredible. In Mexico City, we have playoff D, which to us is probably going to be Denmark against Ivory Coast. I think the Danish squad will make it through to the round of 16. Then Atlanta will see England and Senegal, a rematch of the last World Cup from round of 16. This time a little bit back because we have an extra round of elimination. I think England will make it through over Senegal once again. I think they're just a better team and they didn't have a problem in the last World Cup to do so. In Miami, we have the game of the round of 32, Argentina against Uruguay. Obviously in the first ever World Cup, Uruguay beat Argentina in that final. And the last World Cup Uruguay ever won was in 1950. So I think they have lost that touch. I don't think they can repeat what they did almost 100 years ago. I'm going to say Argentina makes it through. Uruguay have been in a small crisis in South America lately. Argentina have been in the opposite. They are not playing their best football since the last World Cup. They haven't played against hard opponents either. But I do think they are better than Uruguay today. In Dallas, we'll see Paraguay against Iran. A good matchup, but I do think the South American team will make it through to the round of 16. I just think they're a little better than Iran. Then in Vancouver, Canada, we have playoff A, which is probably going to be Italy against Algeria. A good matchup, but in all seriousness, I think if Italy makes it to the World Cup, they will make it to the round of 16. They will beat Algeria in this occasion. And then in Kansas City, with a stadium full of Colombians, I think Colombia will go to the round of 16, beating Ghana. So now in round of 16, we have Ecuador against France. I think, although I would love to see Ecuador in the quarterfinals of this World Cup, I think they have the potential to make it far. They could beat France. Logic stands that Mbappe is going to make it far into this competition. I do see them going forward to quarterfinals. South Korea against the Netherlands. I really hope a team knocks out the Netherlands before quarterfinals, but I don't see South Korea beating Netherlands in Houston on the 4th of July. In Dallas, we have Portugal against Spain. Beautiful game. I again think of the 2018 World Cup when they drew 3-3 in that group stage. Amazing game. I think Spain is much better than they used to be back then, and I think Portugal are probably on the same level. So I'm going to say Spain is going to make it to the quarterfinals, knocking Cristiano Ronaldo out, having CR7 play his last World Cup, getting to the round of 16. In Seattle, on the 6th of July, we have the United States of America against Mexico. What a game. Beautiful CONCACAF matchup. The last time these two played in a World Cup, the U.S. went over Mexico to go into the quarterfinals. I think history will repeat itself, and I think the U.S. will get to the quarterfinals, knocking Mexico out. And even though it's played in the U.S., Mexico is going to be the home team in that game. Then in New York, we have Morocco against Norway. I love Holland. I would love to see Norway go far. I think Morocco is going to be the team that gets to the quarterfinals in this occasion. Then in Mexico City, July 5th, we have Denmark against England. I think England will make it through and they will get to the quarterfinals in this game. Then in Atlanta, we have Argentina against Paraguay. I think this game is the game Argentina should win. They should go through the quarterfinals, but Paraguay is a strong team. Argentina have lost against them in the qualifiers, so we'll see what happens. I think Argentina makes it through though. And then Italy, Colombia, beautiful game. Vancouver though. I think Colombia is a better squad than Italy today. If you compare their teams, Lucho Diaz against Retegui in Argentine, a nationalized Italian, I think Colombia will make it to the quarterfinals, knocking Italy out, making them one of my dark horses for this World Cup. Now we're in the quarterfinals. We have France against Netherlands. Again, I think France are too good. They're going to make it to the semifinals. Then we have Spain against the United States. It's a shocker that the US got to quarterfinals in the first place. They basically got CONCACAF in round of 32 and round of 16. That's why they made it here. But that's going to be the end of the line for them. In LA, they're going to get knocked out by Spain. In Miami, Morocco against England. I think Morocco has a good chance of beating England here. When I did this prediction in Spanish, I said England would make it through. I'm going to say Morocco makes it through this time, just to make it a little different. I think Morocco has the power to knock England out. This is the type of game England loses, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And now in Kansas City, we have Argentina against Colombia. Argentina usually is one of the countries that takes the most people to the stands. I think Colombia will beat them this World Cup. I think Colombia support will be incredible in this World Cup. If I have to guess, it's going to be the toughest game for Argentina so far. I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I'm going to say, last time I said Argentina makes it through over Colombia. But just like in the Copa America final last year, I think Argentina can take Colombia and go forward into the semifinals of the World Cup. And semifinals, we have in Dallas Stadium, the 14th of July, France against Spain. The two best European teams face in the semifinals. I think Spain has beaten France in the last couple of times they've competed against each other. A couple of really good games. I do think today, in my last prediction in Spanish, I said Spain goes through. I'm going to change it up this time once again, and I'm going to say France makes it to the final because it could really go for either side. This could even be settled in penalties. I think France has a better attack than Spain does. They have Mbappé, Dembélé, Benzema, just a bunch of high-quality players. Spain also has amazing players, but I think they're a more well-rounded team. So I think they have a better midfield and attack than just attack. So since they're so evenly paired up, since I gave it to Spain last time, I'm going to give it to France this time. And then in Atlanta, we have Morocco against Argentina. I think this is going to be a very tough game. I think it's going to be very even. I think Argentina is going to struggle a lot to beat down Morocco's defense, but I think they will make it to the final once again. I'm going to say Argentina makes the final. So the World Cup final is a repeat of the last World Cup. Wouldn't be the first time. France against Argentina, and I don't think Argentina is going to win back-to-back World Cups. That hasn't happened in a very long time. And I have to say France will win this World Cup, getting their third World Cup in their history, tying Argentina actually. So I think France will win this World Cup. Let me know in the comments where you think I messed things up, where you think maybe I messed up in the group stage. Maybe you think Mexico will make it further. Maybe you think England will make it further. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I hope what I predicted is not completely correct. We'll see what happens.